strategies and what I think about strategy and what I think is good about that. My name is Ivan Rodriguez. I'm originally from Guadalajara, Mexico. I love mathematics. I think that's an advantage for me, even though I'm in an engineering position. And I would say a very administrative position. I base a lot of my decisions on, certain variables that I find mathematics to help me a lot. I'm an engineer as well. I have a couple of master's degrees, one MBA and one master in mathematics. I work for Invensys. Invensys is a manufacturing site. It's a global manufacturing site. I have responsibility right now for the North American region, although I have a lot of, I would say, inference and interchange of ideas with other sites in China and South America, and recently in Europe as well. So we're going to be talking about strategy, one of the, I would say, less understood concepts. I will tell you that everything that I learned in my tenure as a student, at least in my college, was kind of wrong, based on what I ultimately ended facing. Not at the MBA level for sure.
No, it's quite all right.
No, but I will tell you that, and you know that because probably most of you are working already, but strategy is everything but improving. And it's everything but about innovating the way we do things. So hopefully you enjoy the conversation tonight. I'm really excited to be with you here. And Luz Lozano is going to be my counterbalance because she works with me at Invensys. She's my HR leader, and I enjoy working with her very much. So thank you for having us here.
You bet. And just as a way of complete disclaimer, Luz Lozano normally had previously worked for Kemet Electronics and at one time also worked for Conrado, and she and I have known each other since she was probably 8 years old or something. Many years ago. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
You bet. So you have given an introduction. Let me point out to the folks that are here. You're responsible for North American manufacturing. You are the business unit manager for the tantalum business. Is that right? Yes. I can't even keep up with what your current title is. Are you the?
I'm responsible for some operation in China.
Yes, that means you're responsible for operations in China and where else?
In China, the U.S., in Mexico.
China, the U.S., and Mexico.
And in Portugal.
And in Portugal. And no one has heard.
Very soon in Thailand and in Japan.
Thailand. Oh, my heavens. All right, we'll talk about strategic development. And for those of you who are looking at these two guys and wondering, well, what do they do? Yvonne's company, for those of you who have a washer or a dryer or a refrigerator, there's probably a real good chance that Invensys develops and builds the control systems that go in those, okay? So you never see what they make, but you use it every day. And for those of you who have a cell phone or a car or a computer, there's probably an exceptionally good chance that some of the products that Conrado's group makes are there. They make, Kemet makes capacitors, predominantly ceramics and tantalum are the two big ones. They are probably the world's leader of tantalum. Well, they are the world's leader of tantalum capacitors as measured by technology, sales, pieces, however you want to cut it. And I have worked for Kemet before, as you know, and one of the great things strategically that we got to do was in the leaded business, we ran almost everybody else out of business, and so we could private label for them. That was a well-placed strategy. So, thank you for your introduction, gentlemen. So let me ask you, I would like to ask the first question if I could, then I'm going to be quiet and let them start. And that is, strategically, as you look at both your businesses, and you guys can each answer this, what do you see as your biggest opportunity and what's your biggest threat? And you can pick which one's going to go first.
All right, let me go
thought
first.
we were going to ask the questions, not,
Huh?
not to be asked.
Do what? You thought y'all were gonna ask you can ask questions next. I asked that one, you ask the next one.
You do that all day.
Then they can ask one.
So, I think the biggest threat that we are facing is, we are losing market share. And once we believe we were the innovative company just leading the way this industry in appliance will be evolving. We are a 100-year company. This started in Europe 100 years ago. So I think because of the ego around our engineering group and this belief that we are untouchable and undestroyable, we're going to be, controlling the market pretty much because we define the price, we define when a product will be obsoleted, etc. But, that has changed dramatically. And the company now is adapting rapidly. But I will say that the challenge that we are facing, strategically speaking, is the challenge that new players have come into play. And they are introducing kind of unique features in the products. Cheaper, I would say in some cases, no more robust, because I think, and I need to be very open and honest with you on that, our products are by far very robust and very well designed. But considering the cycle times in the washer machines and the refrigerators, etc., probably our products are over-designed. And hence, the pricing is affecting us. So I think that's a threat, and that's a challenge, strategically speaking. Now, the opportunity comes exactly from there. We are redefining ourselves. I'm actually, without not being humble, we're part of the new blood that the company is, putting into play, trying to introduce, new ways of thinking, new ways of, dealing with ambiguity and dealing with complexity. Because everything that Tom is going to tell you about the complexity outside is true. The world is so complex, and the competition is so eager to take your business away from you, and that's a fact. So whoever that has the best solution for the market, and I will define that, the best solution is not necessarily the cheapest one, but is the one that is available in the right time, in the right place, with the right functionality, the one that is going to be, gaining market share. So the opportunity is, again, recover the leadership of our brands. We own different brands in the world, and I think we are pretty much realigned. And little by little, we are, again, gaining a level of confidence and just moving this whole structure accordingly. When I say the whole structure, is because I'm talking about 45 different plants with 25,000 people. So you can imagine what that change is going to require for us to consolidate the position. So those two will be, in my opinion, Tom, the challenge and the opportunity.
Okay. Well, the challenge is as Ivan was saying, is competition is very, everybody's competing for a customer every day, in every market, in every product that you do. And the opportunity also is everybody, every time that you have $1 to spend on electronics, instead of putting gasoline in your car or buying a new pair of shoes, it's an opportunity for us. So we, like for example, every time that you buy a computer, that's good for us. Every time that you decide to change your phone, that's good for us. So then our challenge is to be on the phone. As we sell components for electronics, every time that you buy a new car, the more gadgets the car has, the much better for us. So its opportunities will continue to happen as we continue to like electronics. And every time that you like to be connected, or you like to use your phone, or you like to send a picture, or you want to buy a 35 megapixels camera, that's good for us. So there is a lot of opportunities, but there is, as in any industry in the world, there is excess capacity. There is capacity for everything in the world, even for whatever you want to do, labor, machines, money. There is excess of money in the world. Actually, there is too much money in the world to be spent. So we always think about money is it's a bottleneck, but it's not. It's lack of entrepreneurs, not lack of money. So there is opportunities every day, every minute, every industry, and challenges is competition. So every time that a new engineer is graduated from a school with a new idea is competition. So don't worry about the competition or the opportunity. It will never end. There is always going to be a competitor, and there is always going to be an opportunity. So don't think about it even. Just move forward, and wake up. So that's there is no magic on that.
All right. Thank you. Now, you guys want to ask questions?
Go ahead. Yes, actually, I was, as you were talking on that curve, I was the best story that I have heard about strategy and uncertainty and making a decision. I wanted to share with you this. I got that idea from a class. I attended a class, and the best example of a strategy through the history of, Tom was talking about the Betamax and the VHS. Yeah. Actually, there is a very good analogy in the 1800s when everybody remember the Pony Express, the industry called Pony Express. Do you know what Pony Express is?
No, están muy chiquitos.
Pony Express, imagine, you know Federal Express today, no? You put a letter, and well, even Federal Express is losing ground because of the internet. Pony Express, they were delivering the mail in 1800, whatever, and they were 80% of the share in the U.S. And Pony Express is because they were transporting the letters through horses. I mean, they were having all kind of big horses, long horses. And their R&D budget, or the technology budget, was spent on what do you think? And on this, at the same time, somebody in the UK, Fulton, I think was the guy who invented the steam machine. And the railroads were starting to be put into the US. There was a lot of railroads being built at the same time. And the CEO of Pony Express, he has the budget to decide where to put the technology money. And they were coming to him, offering him to buy a new train. So what do you think his R&D budget was at that time? And he didn't decide to change his strategy. So he has, I don't know, 100 engineers doing R&D, or I don't know, maybe 10 or 15, whatever. So what was the project? Do you think the project was strategically at that time? No idea. That's a strategy. That's a very good example of good strategy or bad strategy.
What was it?
They were actually developing food for the horses to allow them to run longer distances.
Really?
And it's a true story. It's about strategy. So if you don't understand, talking about competition, opportunity, challenges, and you don't understand the technology, and he was 80% market share of all the mails that were sent in the US. And the guy was developing food for horses.
Oh my goodness.
And he lost the business. That's I mean, when you think about a strategy, you are going to be put, and somebody's going to tell you, this is your budget as a manager, and you need to decide where to spend your budget. And all these words, where is the data? There is no data. What is your experiences? You're always going to be lacking of experience. So, and you need to make a decision, talking about decisions. So that's a strategy, and that's a very good example. That's a very good example. Don't develop food for horses when there is a train coming. So, and it's a true story. It's about a strategy, and it's very famous. You can read the Pony Express disappeared but they can actually change from horses to trains, and they decided not to, and they lost the business. There is multiple examples of that. So that's a strategy for me, and I always think about the Pony Express when I am doing my budgets. So where I should put my budget, and this is a strategy, and you never have the information. So that's just one comment, just leading into what Tom was talking about, the beta and the VHS, which is also a true story from Japan.
In the same token, that's a great example. Although it seems very basic, guys, that happens, and you just put different names and players, and it's pretty much very well applied everywhere. What I can add into that comment is two different approaches for strategic thinking or strategy definition. One is an analogy to Lamarck. I don't know if you have heard about that guy, but Lamarck was in the same time than Darwin was. Darwin probably better than Lamarck. But they were talking about the same idea, which was species and evolution and how this world evolved and how the human being was pretty much created. So the analogy goes this way. Lamarck believed that the human and the species change gradually. So there are certain companies that are going to be defining strategies, step by step and very well structured and very well defined and actually following a very rigid methodology. That's pretty much a Lamarck analogy to the gradual evolution. He will say, for instance, that, giraffes will be gradually increasing the size of the neck as the time passed by. Darwin, in the opposite side, he believed in dramatic transformation. You either have something now and you need to change in order to survive, and you just adapt and quickly get rid of the history and introduce a new approach. So whatever the strategy is followed by a company, if it is a fast track, it's a destroy and creation approach, or if it is a gradual evolution, I think what is important is, at the end of the day, you need to make decisions. And those decisions are going to change the precedents, are going to change the way you used to think, the way you used to produce, the way you used to do things. So that's another path, how you pretty much define the speed. Do not go with the Darwin approach just per se. It's not for everything, it's not for every product, it's not for every industry. It's not just because someone is asking you to change. There are so ridiculous decisions made at any level about this way of evolving a company. Something that I would like to add briefly is what a strategy doesn't mean, or what is not a strategy. For me, a strategy is about change, is about creating something that is not defined. It's going to be how you envision yourself, not in 5 years, guys, how you envision yourself in 1 year, 2 years, and 3 years. And it's going to be very dynamic. Some people believe a strategy is about improving something. It's about just getting better in something. That is not a strategy. That's just an improvement plan. I have found that different companies confuse that. Strategy is about what you're going to do different to increase the market share, what you're going to do different to return to your stakeholders more return. And most of the answers are pretty much commonly expected, but there I'm going to give you also a little advice, which is innovation seems to be the answer for everything. But guess what? Innovation is probably the fuel for the transformation, but innovation needs to be put in a reference, and the reference is innovation is providing a solution for a need in the market. And it's not just about creating something new that ultimately is not going to be sold. There are a lot of examples of very innovative products, extremely innovative products, which expense on R&D was astronomical. And guess what? That product is not appealed to the market, and hence is not being able to be sold. And then the company lost the whole thing. So trying to connect what Conrado was saying about how you are investing your money, what is exactly the path you do. This is my advice to you. Touch the products, know the markets, get deep in the customer trends, because by the way, those change. You need to really have a feeling of what your customer is looking for. before you even start making a decision about changing this plant, moving this site to this other, based on a cost reduction approach. There are so many misconceived ideas about what strategy and then the innovation support is. And that would be my advice. Be close, very close to the variables defining the value to your customers. And Porter put it this very clearly 25 years ago, and I think today it remains very relevant. He said, understand the customer power. So many times we minimize the customer power in the decisions we make. Understand your supplier's power. You believe that because you are the customer, you can define certain rules. Guess what? It's not the case. Sometimes you just need to follow the rules that, you know, some monopolies has defined, and then you could be exposed. Understand the entry barriers. You need to understand if there are any other players getting into your field that are quickly growing and expanding. You need to really make sense of that and really understand that before you consider making a strategic decision. Also, understand the substitute products. I think we, Invensys, did a very poor job understanding the substitute products to the products that we have in the market. And if you don't understand those substitution power or substitution level, you could quickly lose a market share. And lastly, understand the rivalry between those 4 factors. This is, in a very simple way, what Porter pretty much affirms in terms of how to evolve a company and how to create competitive advantages, which ultimately is the end of the strategy.
Good. You want to ask them a question now? Or can they ask you?
No, yes. Okay.
But this is a two-way street. If you don't have any questions, they will.
Okay, it seems like both of you operate in various countries with different cultures, you know, and do you find difficulties managing with a certain style, different cultures? Does that sort of impede you, or is it a barrier? Can you do the exact same things or motivate people the same ways, or are there filters that between you and those other outside countries that you run as well?
Well, I'm older than Ivan, so I can answer that. I have
Just a little bit.
no. I have touched more people, and what I can tell you is that people is different on values around the world, but everybody likes the same. I mean, you just need to learn how to make a joke in any country, and then everybody's the same. Once they smile, we are all the same. I get no difficulties around the world to work in China or in Thailand or in Japan. Actually, it's very nice working with Japanese people, or dealing with German engineers, or with gringos. I mean, people value different things, but people is people. That's my experience. I mean, there is no difference. I don't have any preference for any nationality now. I like foods. I used to be very Mexican. I don't know if I always have a joke, and I already learned my lesson. I'm old enough to tell stories, but in Mexico, for whatever reason, which is I think is a mistake culturally. When we grow in Mexico, we think that we are very proud to be Mexicans, and every time that we name something, and you think about, we always try to call it Mex, like Taco Mex, or Tortilla Mex, or anything. I mean, we think like even Tex-Mex, or Telmex. And when you go outside of Mexico, everybody look at you like, what is the Mex thing means? So, for example, in the U.S. they have it's www.something.com. In Mexico is mx.mx. And an advice is, don't bring your country don't bring your flag to any place. So bringing the flag to other places is a mistake. Nobody appreciates that. But you need to learn that. So I think for me is people is the same. They like different food. And no, don't bring your flag. And you will be well received and learn how to make jokes in different countries. So that helps. Everybody smiles everywhere. I mean, when I get to China, everybody says, no, Chinese, they don't like to smile. Give them a beer and then everybody smiles. So people is the same. That's my experience.
Yeah, I think I share, Conrado, your point of view. The only thing that I will tell you is that validate information. There is a great author, which last name is Hopseed. Read about him when you deal with cultural difference. It's great. The guy has these metrics that shows what culture is more, willing to the touchy-feeling approach, and what culture is absolutely a big mistake. I have learned that in the bad way. I remember a meeting, and unfortunately, and I will be very honest with you, that didn't happen with me personally, but it happened with one of my engineers. We had a meeting, and that meeting was in Germany. And then this employee was very effusive. So we saw the customer. The customer has been in our plant for about 2 or 3 times. So it was already the ice was already broken, if you will. So when we appeared into this meeting room, and the meeting was about to start, my engineer went to this lady and just tried to give her a hug and a kiss in the cheek, and the lady reacted dramatically. She just, threw the guy away. The guy fell down. I mean, the whole scene was so embarrassing. I needed to go ahead and pick up my guy, and just he was absolutely wrecked. And he said, Ivan, I don't think if I'm able to stay here. And I said, relax, and yes, please get out for now. But things like that can happen if you don't understand the cultural difference. So a good advice from Conrado is about the flag. I will tell you, yeah, it's a flag, but it's also your culture. It's not that you hide it, it's that you just need to be receptive. The Mexican culture tends to be extremely outgoing, but just be careful, just go little by little, listen twice as you talk, and you will learn a lot. And also, I think I concur with you, I enjoy dealing with Japanese, although one of my toughest negotiations was with the Japanese culture about dealing with price. In our world, in the Western world, we try to do things right and quickly. And that's how we are measured, by the way. We're measuring how many things we do in a certain period of time. Japanese is exactly the opposite. They want to do the right things, regardless how much time they're going to invest. So their strategy was, okay, you just reduce us 0.001 cents. Okay, good progress, Ivan. Can we come back tomorrow for another discussion? And I said, okay. And that lasted for about 2 weeks just to getting a deal in pricing. So again, it's just understanding. It's understanding, the characteristics of the culture. And again, read this guy, Hopseed. It's great. It's a good reference for you to learn about dealing with the global environment. Yeah.
Can you spell that all, please?
Yeah, it's Hofsede, if I'm not mistaken.
Hofsede, yeah. Hofsted.
He's not a new guy, by the way, but it's amazing how his theory remains very active. Yeah.
I had the same issue with the kissing thing when I first moved down here. It's like, what are you doing? Now it's great. I love it.
Yeah, this engineer actually was very embarrassed, you can imagine. I mean, he was diminished to nothing. And he was my guy speaking about the product that we were doing. So, yeah, things happen.
Okay, I'll go next. What is the biggest obstacle or problem you have to solve, and how in your management career?
You go first, Ivan.
No.
I did one.
That's a very difficult question. What is the toughest problem that I personally have dealt with so far?
And how did you solve it?
Wow. I have had so many difficult problems, and I will tell you that I have most of the time in the learning side than in the successful side. What I'm trying to tell you is I have failed probably more times than the ones that I have succeeded. But I have been a very lucky guy because although I'm kind of young still, my supervisor has forgiven me for those mistakes that I have made so far. I think they probably measure, the ratio of the hits, trying to make an analogy to the baseball. So I think one of my toughest, problems that I have faced was when I accepted a responsibility that I was not prepared. But I think that was not my fault per se. I was inspired to do that or encouraged to do that. The problem was, I believe I knew and I believe I was ready. And this was a very complex, operation. And obviously, the only option that I had was to perform and to learn on the fly and to create a very, and I think that was my good thing. I created a very good team around me. I pretty much changed, there were about 14 managers. I changed 7 of them, not because I let them go. I just changed them across positions. And I demoted some, I promoted another ones, but I created a good team. And that happened when I was 27 years old. And I was in charge of this large operation with 3,000 people. And it was just too much. It was so complex operation. Aggressive customer, that company was on the telecom industry. For those that are in the telecom industry, you know that telecom industry is tremendously dynamic and is very, very aggressive. Everything is about speed and pennies in discounts, etc., because that's a very aggressive market. So it was a difficult situation. So in summary, one of my toughest decisions is dealing with ambiguity, dealing with complexity, and not being prepared. Now, let me tell you what has worked for me to deal with that. Because then I said, all right, I learned, I'm ready for the next. Guess what? I was promoted to a new challenge, and pretty similar approach happened. Because the variables all the time change. And it's like this never ends. When you believe you have capitalized too much knowledge and you're ready to make decisions that are correct 100% of the time, you will never be ready. And that will never